The Odessia, Semi-Lunar Episode 2, Nighttime Lover. Odessa and Piero sat together on the couch in the living room with rough chipped mugs of steaming barley tea in hand. Piero's husband, Leo, shuffled absent-mindedly into the kitchen. The sound of a plate crashing to the ground followed a few moments later. Piero wearily excused herself and led her lumbering husband by the hand into the garden. "Now, darling, be a good fellow and weed this patch for me," she said.
"Weed?"
he replied in a thick, slow voice. "Just keep on like so. Now, when you're done, come sit down in the lounge, will you?"
"When I'm done?"
The words slurred to no one in particular. "Yes, when you're done, when there are no more weeds here."
"No more weeds."
"Yes, no more weeds." "Good. Good." Piero clapped her hands and sighed. "All right, we're working well," she said more to herself than to anyone else. She returned to Odessa and sat down heavily on the couch. "I'm sorry about that. He's really very good, very handy around the house. He just needs to be given clear instructions." Piero picked up her mug and grimaced at the chipped edges and lines of glue where it had been put back together. "He works a lot, but he's a lot of work." Piero forced out a small laugh. Odessa gave her an encouraging smile. "But it's not his fault. He always worked so hard. And the curse could have befallen anyone. You can't live your life in fear of the witch, otherwise you'll never leave the house." Piero sipped her tea and stared past Odessa. "I'm sorry to hear it," Odessa said quietly. "It's not all bad," Piero continued. "I've learned how to dispel the witch's curse at night. She thinks she's taken my Leo away from me. And yes, she has his mind. But she can't take his love. That belongs to me." "What do you mean?" Piero's gaze refocused on Odessa, and a light of excitement entered her eyes. "During the day, Leo's mind is captive, as you can see. You wouldn't know it, but his mind is the most valuable treasure in all the Shire. He held in his head the key to great inventions, ideas that would have transformed our lives. Come, let me show you." Odessa followed Piero to a large room at the back of the house. "Do you see what I mean, Odessa?" "Yes, what an amazing room," Odessa said. "Look at all these diagrams and blueprints and sketches. What is that cabinet full of potions? What are those machines on the workbench?" "Oh, I couldn't begin to tell you," Piero replied proudly. "Leo told me all about these things, and I adored him for his brilliance, but I never understood it. I tried to make sense of it all, and I could see roughly how it all might come together, but I'm sorry I could never make heads nor tails of it. Maybe I should have tried harder." "Don't say that. You helped him as best you could, didn't you?" "Oh yes," Piero replied. "I knew he was working on amazing things no one had ever thought of before, so I wanted to be with him, but I also didn't want to disturb him. It was hard, sometimes. Now I have him to myself all the time, but it's not in the way I wanted." Piero picked up a half-built contraption of cogs and wheels. "I would give anything to get his genius back. He doesn't say it, he can't say it, but I sense he knows what's been stolen from him. It hurts me so much to look at him sometimes." She put down the contraption and took a deep breath. She shook her head. "No, I must be strong. I mustn't let that evil creature's curse get to me. I will defeat her." Piero looked up at Odessa, who crossed her arms and then put them behind her back, and then settled on folding her hands over her midriff. Piero led Odessa back to the couch in the living room. As they took their seats, Leo came in from the garden and stared vacantly at Piero. "You said the witch took Leo's mind captive, but she couldn't steal his love. What do you mean by that?" Odessa asked. "When the witch swooped down on him, she pierced his head and began to drain his genius into her flask, but I attacked her with this." Piero drew a glittering emerald dagger from a sheath on her belt. "It was his wedding gift to me," she beamed. "The witch got most of his genius before I got her way, but his heart was untouched. The witch needs both his genius and his love, his mind and his heart, to arrogate his power to herself, but I'll die before I let her attack him again." Piero trembled angrily, and Leo instinctively stroked her hair. "What does the witch do with the genius of his that she got away with?" "Oh, it's useless to her. She has no love in her heart, and anyone else's would not work with Leo's, so she keeps it locked away. Sometimes I think he sees her circling overhead, but as she has no heart, it's easy to keep her away. I will work out one day how to get that flask back. I promise. I don't know how, but there must be a way. In the meantime, I still have Leo's love. What do you mean? There are always two husbands, Odessa. The husband of the day, who is clever and makes decisions, who works and mends and repairs and fixes, who is tall and strong and brave to the outside world. That man she stole from me. That is the man my heart aches for under the sun. But at night, there is a second husband, who need not lead, or work, or fight. He need only love and remember me. Piera's voice trembled as she opened her eyes to Odessa. And he remembers me every night. I can see it. I can feel it. For a few blessed hours, nothing else matters, and he is as he always was, my Leo, my love. It's in his breathing, in his touch, in the way he holds my hands, the look in his eyes. I know I can't explain it, but I can see he comes back to me. Piera stroked his cheek. And for a precious while, he remembers himself as well. Odessa gripped her mug, and the tea mixed with her tears.